So I want to talk about cops in the pandemic. What time is it? It's cop time. So we've all seen that the state has mostly dealt with any rogue elements through this pandemic with cops. We have papered over our deficiencies in the public health response with cops. You know, if we see a crack, we use cops to fill up the gaps. It's like that Japanese practice of kintsugi, except for instead of filling the cracks with gold, we fill it up with pepper spray. And that's worldwide too. That's not just here. I read a report the other day which described COVID as the first global police event, which makes my skin crawl a bit, frankly. But it's clearly true. You know, cops everywhere are being deployed as the first and the last line in enforcing public health measures. On the Australian front, a report published in December 2020 in a journal called Current Issues in Criminal Justice concludes, our case studies reveal that COVID policing has intensified existing policing practices directed towards the usual suspects, which disrupts the notion that COVID policing is directed solely towards the legitimate public health objective of preventing contagion. They're targeting the same communities that they've always loved targeting the most, which is, of course, wealthy property owners in Mosman and Toorak. Lol, just pulling your leg. Of course I'm talking about broke and or non-white communities. And that shit is classic cop, really, isn't it? Their cop blood froths up at the very thought of attacking the downtrodden with batons and pepper spray. It's written into the very heart of the cop species DNA.
Arresting makes me come.
We saw all of that expressed through tens of thousands of fines issued to disproportionate amounts of broke and or non-white communities. We also saw policing take the form of, for example, shutting down a housing commission tower filled mostly with African people in Kensington. It isn't just a coalition government thing, is it? This thing's bipartisan. It's Liberal and Labor who both deploy thugs or fund those thugs to deal with transgressive elements in a pandemic. Again, the usual suspects. I was an activist on the streets in less viral times, watching with my own two eyes as Daniel Andrews legislated and funded for Vic Pol to become a blend of Judge Dredd and Robocop. So you can't tell me that this is just a Libs thing. Actually, it's an Australia thing. It's a government and cops thing. Boy howdy has this worsened throughout the pandemic. Fucking oath it has. It has not gotten better. It has gotten worse. And for proof, one only need look at Western Sydney right now. Cops are stationed on literally every corner in Western Sydney. This is what it looks like from block to block. They're flying choppers overhead to tell people to wear their mask and to not exit the home, and to threaten them of the consequences of doing otherwise. They're entering people's houses and pepper spraying the families in their backyards. I hate it. Cops are shit. If fucking cops, fucking yuck, gross fucking cops, yucky, rank, fucking pig cop maggots. Now our government's response to the pandemic is falling to fucking bits, isn't it? With worse emergency welfare relief than ever and a fucked up vaccine rollout. So here we are. And what are they doing? They're papering up, they're filling up the gaps with cops. I watched them pepper spray thousands of people last night at a Snap Melbourne anti-lockdown rally. And watching these losers at this rally, they had no fucking idea how to organise cohesively. They've just got this discordant political will, you know, going out with cornier non-masks because they vaguely remember online that makes you an activist. No real demands, just, you know, stop the reality from being real. Make the real thing not real.
Stop the world and let me out.
And it's little fucking wonder, of course, because these conspiracist groups, on Telegram and that they're becoming pilled in, they're not organising them properly. I mean, these spaces, if you watch them, they're just melting pots in which people, trade 2-hour BitChute videos about the NWO and Dan Andrews CCP memes and links to wellness MLM scams. And all the movement's figureheads are just trying to siphon variously either votes or shares or cash out of these people. So they don't give a fuck about shaping that political will. So people are just sent charging, blind into the arms of cops to be arrested every now and then. And I look at that spectacle and I hate it. I hate the fucking cops. I hate them so fucking much. Fucking shit, fucking maggot, pig, dog, cop, fucking. But as a left-wing person who isn't a coronavirus denialist, throughout the pandemic I've had to, batten down and endure the spiritual siege of constantly being called like a state shill and a sheep, and all that, just because I don't disbelieve in the existence of a virus that's now probably killed 7 to 12 million people or more, according to realistic data. Because I believe in that virus, no fucking brainer, I'm categorised as loving Big Pharma, like I suck off cops for a hobby, like I hang off their coppy groins. And I don't. I refuse to suck off any cop. You heard it here first. Tom Tanuki officially point blank refuses to suck off a single cop. I solemnly vow that this mouth of mine will never caress the groin of any cop. I love self-restraint, not state restraint. Communal restraint. That's what I value about our response, as in us on the ground, people in this pandemic. I appreciate the community service workers and organisations and activists who have organised mutual aid throughout the pandemic. I think they are the best expressions of self-restraint and communal restraint. I've written actually about this kind of thing at length, but most recently in an article I did about pandemic activism in Independent Australia. From us, people on the ground, normal, actual people, what I want is self-restraint and mutual aid. From the government, I demand the support that actually has to go hand in hand with lockdowns. You can't do one without the other. We see that now. Looking from last year to this year, we know it's true. I think we have to remain material demands focused here. I keep saying this again and again. Please return a broadened eligibility job seeker, reinstate the increased level of job seeker, and this time for good, and return nationwide rental eviction moratoriums. They're really reasonable things to ask for in these circumstances. I know that they aren't the demands of the anti-lockdown movement too. I know that isn't what they're asking for. They're doing some stop the world and get me off shit. But the anti-lockdown movement is also a conspiracist catchment for people with anxieties. That's where they're getting their new recruits from. So if the government, based on our demands, protects these people's basic living costs, then there will be less new anxious recruits. That's what I believe. What I think, and what you should think, is value self-restraint, not state restraint. Treat the pandemic as a public health issue and not an issue to be covered up with pepper spray. And demand of your politicians, and on social media, yes, go on, if raising awareness is that valuable, that they tone down the cop shit immediately. Because cops are fucking shit. They're shit dog fucking pig maggot dogs. They're fucking cops. I fucking hate them. Here's your nuanced political take on cops. I hate them. Fucking maggot pig dog pigs. Thanks for listening to my nuance. Please spread the message. Self-restraint, not state restraint. Thank you. By the way, I legit made the video and the song playing in the background, Arresting Makes Me Come. I made that years ago. Long story, don't worry about it. If you don't agree with the views on cops contained in this video, may I suggest you go and suck off a police horse. Cheers.